Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. The spotter said it was clear. It wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. And so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out about until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Meet Me at Applebee's, your number one unrefined motorsports podcast. It's Brian here, as always, with Rob and Ashley. COTA happened, and it was a fun race. So how are we all doing this week?
I'm fucking exhausted, Brian. How are you, True Love?
I'm ready to get this over with.
Yeah, you got some soap operas to get back to.
Gotta get back to my TV soaps.
Yep. So yeah, COTA.
That wasn't a lie, by the way, folks. That's actually what True Love needs to get back to. So
100%.
Important matters.
All right, so the Xfinity race, that's where obviously we got to start. There was nothing going on Friday. So I guess the first note is, did we all watch this? And I think the answer is no.
No.
Although I did watch the last end of the race there.
yeah, I actually watched more of qualifying than the race.
Well,
Definitely didn't see that. I just saw the highlights.
Because that was actually on the CW app, so...
yeah.
Funny how that works.
All right, well, because we didn't watch much of it, let's at least talk about why we missed the race. Because Ashley and I were both doing racing things. Rob, was that your soccer period when you couldn't watch the race?
Yeah, I was at another sporting event. I did some racing shit alongside that too, but I missed the Xfinity race specifically for another major sport.
Okay.
What are you doing,
Ashley,
Brian?
what's that?
What are you doing?
All right. Well, I guess I'll start off. So, I had to go make a Facebook Marketplace purchase of. Originally, it was supposed to be just a Rusty Wallace crew shirt from like '92, but the guy had a couple other things, and he seemed nice enough, so I was like, all right, but he couldn't meet till 2:30, which was right when the race started, so whatever, had to go do that. So show up, and as soon as I get out of the car, he immediately starts asking me about how I feel about like stage racing and like NASCAR in 2025, because this is very much a guy that I could tell hadn't watched in like 20 something years, but he's very nice, very friendly, and he asked me that, and then like, oh, you don't have anywhere to be, do you? I'm like, no. He gets in the garage, he fires up the space heater and starts yapping away, and it was a very nice conversation. He was a very nice guy. It was very clear that he stopped watching racing like late 90s, early 2000s, because like everything that he owned, like I was buying, he had a few other shirts and stuff that I bought, and everything that I bought from him and everything, like he had a shelf of diecast and stuff, it was all like Camel and Miller stuff, because he's like, those are the cigs I smoked and that's the beer I drank, so those are the teams that I supported. So
yeah.
It was all drag racing and NASCAR stuff.
Yeah.
And I was there for probably an hour talking to this guy, and the conversation went all over the place, like drag racing and local tracks and all sorts of stuff. And the one part where it started to get a little tricky, but thankfully didn't get too tricky.
When he took his shirt off?
Well, no, we didn't. It was too cold for that. But
What's the space heater for? Yeah.
It was like 20 that day. It was cold. But no, one point he asked me about Cadillac and how they might be coming into the series, and we were talking about how Chevy doesn't really have much for passenger vehicles in the U.S. That turns to somehow Toyota, and then he brings up like the racial politics of racing, which is always a sketchy conversation when you're talking to old racing fans for obvious reasons. But this guy was on the right side of history, so it went well.
That's
But basically, like he started off by saying, like I mentioned how I'd recently made another Facebook purchase from a guy that hated Toyota. He was like, as soon as Toyota got into racing, I was done. And he talked about this guy I met Saturday. He starts mentioning, well, that's a lot of the old fans. And it's like, I don't want to get into stereotypes, but like you'd maybe see one or two black guys at races back then. I'm like, okay, well, you're kind of right, but it's changed a lot, thankfully. The fan base is a lot more diverse than it used to be. And then he just starts talking about how he used to be a factory worker, and how like all of his coworkers were black, and they would take him to black bars and like party with him and stuff, and how much he loved them. It's like, all right, well, okay, this guy's cool enough. So that pretty much ended the conversation, thankfully. But yeah.
Then you put his shirt back on and you got out of there.
Yes. I got out of there within the next few minutes, thankfully. But yeah, anytime that type of old race fan conversation, this guy was probably in his 50s, maybe early 60s. It can get tricky. I don't like talking about that stuff because a lot of those, those types have sketchy opinions. But this guy was all right and got some cool stuff, and made it home to watch the last stage. So
nice.
That was my racing experience Saturday. But True Love, what were you up to?
I feel like he's going to be hitting you up again to come back over to his garage.
He wasn't done talking.
I didn't even mention,
a new friend.
He talked about how much he loved short track racing, and also how he used to love crashing his friends at the go-kart tracks until he got T-boned one time and it fucked him up, and then he's like, okay, I get it now. Yeah. So,
that's great.
Yep.
Jesus.
But yeah, True Love, you were doing racing stuff. What were you doing?
I was at an abandoned dragway. Are we getting into this now, or we want to save this?
Yeah, we got to talk about our experiences, why we missed the race.
Oh, okay. Well, Saturday, me and my boyfriend Andy went to a swap meet, and then after that, he has a buddy named Kevin that he used to work with who has access or knows the groundskeeper to the property where Atlanta Dragway was at. And so Atlanta Dragway closed 3 years ago after NHRA pulled out of there. And I went to the last swap meet there, and I was like, okay, I said my goodbyes to the place. And then they were supposed to build like townhouses or something on top of it. And I was like, I never want to come back to this property because I never want to see it with townhouses on it. I don't want to see it as anything but a drag strip. So
yeah.
Turns out Atlanta Dragway is still there. It's just been sitting there abandoned for 3 years. So we went there and hung out for a few hours, but they tore down the tower for tax reasons, and they tore down all the grandstands, but everything else is still there. I mean, they've taken down signage and stuff, but the concession stands are still there. Like, the roofs are falling in on them. There's like old Budweiser banners hanging off the walls and stuff, and all the bathrooms are still there. But the grass in the grass parking lot is like waist high, and in the asphalt parking lot, anywhere there's a crack in the asphalt, the weeds are like waist high.
Yeah.
But we walked the whole strip. We started at the beginning, walked all the way down, way down to where the gravel pit was, where if a car, lost its shit and needed somewhere to crash. So it was interesting to walk it, and it was, just us there, and just see how much Mother Nature has taken over in 3 years. Like, the weeds are insanely high. There's gross swarms of bugs everywhere. There's buzzards circling the place the whole time. There's what I think was coyote shit all up and down the drag strip.
Yeah.
So it was sad. Yeah. But yeah. Just kind of took pictures and documented what it looks like now. There was some spray paint that I saw that said, like, please don't sell my childhood, which really bummed me out. But so yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, that's so are there any plans for that to open back up, or what's the status on that? 'Cause
No, I
I
think
thought it was
it's-
just done, like
well,
built over already. I didn't know it was still there.
Yeah, seeing its condition, like with the grandstands and the tower completely gone, like, it's never coming back as a drag strip. I think it's under contract right now to be turned into a subdivision. So
It's been rezoned. Yeah, what a bummer.
yeah. But I left with a few souvenirs there. I found some old Sunoco checkered flag banners that had tumbled into the weeds. So I took those dirty flags home and a couple chunks of asphalt that were already broken up and some rubber in the burnout pad that was peeling up. So got me some treasures.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hate to see.
And I also learned something I didn't know, that when the tower was there used to be a bathroom. I think he said the 6 floors. I can't remember what floor, but there was a bathroom in the tower where you could sit on the toilet and look straight out.
That's amazing.
That rules.
Yeah.
Don't miss a second of the action.
Nope.
I can't imagine what it'd be like to be sitting behind a couple of top fuel dragsters taking care of business.
I help you rattle out a few things.
Yeah, clean you right out.
Now, before we get to the actual racing, then, do you have anything to say about your soccer experience, Rob?
Yeah, I do. So I missed the Xfinity race because so I went down to Charlotte this weekend, very last minute. I think I might have mentioned it on the show that I was thinking about going down there. My brother-in-law, Tommy, who's been mentioned on the show a few times, he went to the finals with us last November. It was his 40th birthday this weekend, and my wife was already going down. The whole family was already down there, and I was the only one who couldn't go. Like, work's just crazy for me, and just didn't seem like a good idea to burn a weekend when my life is hell right now on that front. So, but then Thursday came around, and I dropped my wife off at the airport, and I was like, fuck, man. I don't want to sit around the house by myself all weekend. Fuck this. So I looked at tickets, and honestly, they weren't that expensive, and I had some points to burn, so I booked myself a flight for Saturday morning to head on down. And that's what I did. We met up, and they already had tickets to an MLS game. It was Charlotte versus Atlanta. So your home team, True Love. And
Couldn't tell you a thing about them.
Nope, they
Don't
lost.
even know their name.
They lost. Atlanta Football Club, I think, or Atlanta United. That's it. That's how much I paid attention.
Familiar.
But
yeah.
I'm not a soccer guy in the slightest. I'm not going to be a soccer guy. But it was a cool event. You know, it was at the Panther Stadium, Bank of America Stadium, I believe is what it's called. It's a Christian name, and yeah, it was fun. I could not watch the Xfinity race on my phone because of the CW deal, but my brother-in-law had it up, so we saw a couple things that were going on, but I was just kind of taking it in, and it was enjoyable. And like I said, I don't think I'll go back. We do have an MLS team up here, but like I said, I just really don't care all that much. But it's always fun to see different sports, especially ones that I don't follow or know much about. I was a really lousy soccer player as a kid, and that was about the last time I ever gave a fuck about it. In fact, I was so bad, there's a video of me playing like 5th grade soccer or whatever, and my dad brought the VHS camera to the game, and they were just talking about how bad I was when my dad was filming it, not thinking about how the camera was probably picking up all the shit talk. So that was pretty much the end of my soccer career up until Saturday, but it was cool. And the one thing I will say to kind of tie it back into racing is fans of other sports, particularly MLS being a prime example of that, are way more enthusiastic than NASCAR fans are about their particular drivers at most places I've gone. Now, obviously, that's not true across the board. I know we're all pretty passionate about, I know True Love's a huge Chase Elliott fan, and Chase Elliott has a ton of fans, and, I'm a Kyle Larson fan, and I yell about that all the time, and there's some of us who get fired up about it, and that's not exclusive. Not all motorsports are like that, but when I go to Loudon or something like that, the vibe is just so, yeah, we're sitting in the sun watching this, and it's just kind of tying this back into what I was saying about the Chili Bowl, about how the fans are so enthusiastic there, and then going to another sporting event that I'm completely unfamiliar with, and everyone's singing and having a good time and like playfully shit talking, and then sometimes not playfully shit talking the other team's fans. So I really wish there was more of an element of that in NASCAR, and I think there used to be.
Some violence and some singing. Let's bring it back, folks.
I'm not saying there should be some Ty Dillon football songs or anything like that, but yeah, the fan base is very muted for the most part. And that's something
Unless
I
they're
hadn't
wasted.
really considered because I don't go to a lot of major sporting events outside of NASCAR races. So it was very striking to witness. But I did do some racing shit this weekend too. We went to the Hall of Fame. Some really cool exhibits there right now. Of course, the new class of Hall of Fame entrants are there: Ricky Rudd, Carl Edwards, and Ralph Moody. The Ralph Moody section is fucking amazing. There's a letter that Fred Lorenzen wrote to him. That's in the case. That's it's probably the coolest thing in the museum right now.
Yeah,
Just thanking him for the career. I'm sure we'll post a picture of that on the Instagram, but I recommend going and check that out. Beautiful David Pearson car sitting in there right now too. And yeah, it was fun. It was my brother-in-law and my father-in-law went, and my father-in-law had never been, and I always loved dragging him along for racing shit, and he really enjoyed it. He's like, it's a great museum, and I'm starting to get it a little bit more. And he was even asking, like, well, you got to take me to Loudon now. And I was like, all right. So
Okay,
I
there
think
we
we might
go.
be making old Tom Walsh into a NASCAR fan, brick by brick here.
Excellent.
Love to hear
Cool.
it.
Well, I guess we can segue back into what actually happened on the track now that we got all our stuff out of the way.
Connor Zillich is what happened.
Yeah, Connor Zillich, pretty much it was his race to lose, and he almost did lose it a few times,
He
including
tried.
running into his teammate and fucking up his fender. It was a good
Which
risk.
teammate did he run into?
Waffle.
That-
Yeah. Carson Quapple was up for a minute, and Austin Hill was up there too for a minute, which RCR had a pretty decent weekend. I don't know how they normally run on road courses, but they did well.
And Sheldon got into it with Jesse Love, which I enjoyed very much.
But yeah, it was a Connor's race to lose, and he did not lose it. So pretty much we all expected that. Sunday though, his fortunes were not quite as good. He ended up, I think he was involved in that Ross Chastain wreck early on, I believe. And he had to change tires.
Yeah, yeah.
And
flat.
yep, and
Suarez.
worked his way back up to 15th and was on his way up. I don't think he was going to win, but he probably would have gotten a top 10. But yeah, ended up getting crashed out by his own teammate. It was
Busted
just
his
one of
ass
those-
just to T-bone Daniel Suarez.
Yep. Just totally one of those deals that he just couldn't have avoided. I mean, if you've seen the in-car, it was one of those things where it was just like puff of smoke and then there's Daniel. So he was fucked. But
Well, before we get into the Cup race, if you want to talk about things that couldn't be avoided, there was more Chris Wright drama from the Xfinity race.
yeah.
And,
I didn't see all that, but I did see a bit of the Twitter stuff.
Yeah, this man got cooked well done by Josh Bilicki on Twitter. It was fucking awesome. Chris got, I don't even know what the accident was, but he got sideways and Josh Bilicki ran into him. Really nothing he could have done about it. And Josh was upset about it on Twitter. You know, said it was a shame. We had a good car, you know, and somebody the five got sideways and blah, blah, blah. And we've talked about, you know, not opening your mouth when you don't need to on the internet, or as Brian puts it, posting through it. Because sometimes it might not go too well for you. And Chris Wright has not listened to our show or taken any of that advice previously, because he responds to Josh's original tweet saying, "Got loose outside of you and you finished me off." And then this is when the chef steps up and gets cooking. So I'm just going to read it because it's so scathing. Dude, it's embarrassing that you don't even know what happened. I was behind you. You were on the inside of the 35 car. He was passing you on the outside, and you stepped on your dick again and spun all on your own without me touching you. I had nowhere to go, and you hit me as you spun around. And now here is the second gunman on the grassy knoll here, which put Chris Wright down. This is so funny. I tried giving you the benefit of the doubt after Daytona, but it's honestly getting out of hand. Maybe you should go back to being a gentleman driver in IMSA, where you can race doctors and dentists in LMP3.
Yeah, just done. Just done. Take him out of the car. He's over. It's,
Wow.
Game over. And then Josh continued after that.
What a great insult.
And what an apt insult, too. Yeah, deeply personal, fucking hilarious, absolute killer. Rest in peace, Chris Wright.
Yep.
So fucking funny. And Josh is a good driver, too. I don't think he gets a lot of the credit he deserves.
Yeah, that's fair.
grabs
Yeah.
the shit box.
So that pretty much wraps up.
Back to the cup race, and which immediately started off with a wreck of its own, which I think we should get into.
Before we get to that, I would like to talk about how fucking embarrassing the pre-race was. Did either of you watch the pre-race?
I didn't. I heard how bad it was, but I didn't see it.
No, I mean, out of the corner of my eye, it was kind of on the TV, but I was I went out to go buy some Johnny Bootleggers, so I missed most of it and just had it on PRN. So what was bad about it?
Well, right before the Cup pre-race came on Fox, we had the brand new IndyCar broadcast on Fox. So it was like night and day. IndyCar I thought they did a great job broadcast-wise. And then NASCAR comes on, and the first thing they use are these like stupid, hokey, computer-animated barbecue-themed graphics that look like they were made in middle school computer class.
Probably were.
Yeah. And then they went to some weird ad read from Michael Waltrip and Kyle Petty, and they were way too zoomed in on Kyle Petty's weird stick ponytail in the back that's held together by like 63 uneven scrunchies.
Yeah.
And then they had a segment with Connor Zillich where he talks about pooping his pants at the age of 8.
Perfect.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they had a segment with Hocevar, and he's wearing a T-shirt that says, "Want to join a boy band?"
Oh, yeah, I
And
saw
then they
him
cut-
selling those.
To a Ross Chastain interview where he's wearing a cardboard Busch Light cowboy hat. And then we had Michael Waltrip's grid walk, which
I saw the one clip. What did he say? I forget what he said. Something about his wife being on painkillers or something.
yeah, he had
Jesus
interviewed.
Christ.
Novocaine.
He had interviewed an actor that's in some new movie or show called Novocaine, and then as he's running away from the actor, he says something to the effect of, "Maybe if my ex-wife had Novocaine in our relationship, we could have got through it or something." I don't know.
Something to that effect. I know.
Christ.
Yeah, we will post that clip because it's great. Yeah.
It's even darker
But
than
just-
the video of the week last week. Shit.
Yeah, just start to finish, I was like, God, what a fucking clown show compared to what they just gave IndyCar. So.
Yeah, we'll talk about that real quick, I guess. The IndyCar broadcast was pretty excellent. I have my qualms with it. I'm not the biggest Will Buxton fan, and I have a hard time not hearing him as the Formula E broadcaster. I'm just so used to his voice in that role, or being an extra on the Formula One broadcast on Sky. But he did a good job, and they pretty much got the who's who of NBC and NASCAR over there. Jamie Little and Bob Pockrass were in St. Pete for that race, which, by the way, Alex Palou won and put the entire field on notice. So looks like another championship could be inbound. Usually you don't want to say that after race one, but dude's just picking up right where he left off last year, and I don't think there's anybody else better positioned than him and Chip Ganassi Racing. But yeah, just through and through, just quality, like you're watching sports, like an important sporting event. I think my only qualm about it is that it just kind of reminds me of like a Champ Car broadcast a little bit. There's just something about like the tint of the colors they use, and I don't know, it's strange. I can't really describe it. It feels very, very like mid-2000s motorsports, even like right down to the graphics, which is not a problem, just an observation. But yeah, through and through, they absolutely killed the NASCAR presentation dead.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what they do with the 500. So that's 2 broadcast teams that have come in with almost completely new crews with some familiar faces in the booth, presenting motorsports in the U.S. that are outdoing Fox right now, and no end in sight. Even with the cartoons, it wasn't that bad on the IndyCar broadcast. It's not quite as bad. I didn't notice any crazy fucking illegitimate six-packs like Kyle Busch has for the NASCAR one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I look forward to the rest of the IndyCar season. I always thought NBC did a good job, and Fox is picking right up where we left off. And I think any qualms that IndyCar fans had about Fox taking over, they could probably rest a little easier going forward.
Yeah,
It's also nice that the IndyCar race on Fox came on before NASCAR, because when it was on NBC, it would come on at the exact same time as the NASCAR race.
Yeah.
Which was kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, after the pre-race pissed me off, the race started off pissed me off too.
Yeah, well,
Do you want a neutral party to come in here and describe what happened, or what do you guys want to take this one?
You go ahead and do neutral, and then I'll.
Yeah, I mean, Ross fucked up.
Yeah.
Pretty much there's not much else to say. Like, Ross fucked up, and he was totally radio silent after the race, too. Like, wouldn't even give any interviews or anything. It's like, dude, just admit you fucked up. Like, everybody has done that recently. Like,
yeah, God bless Kyle Larson for being smart enough to back out of that. Did you notice that? I feel like his spotter probably told him that Ross was coming, and he, like, braked super early because he saw the log jam coming, and then Chase Elliott was right in front of him, and
Yeah, he was never gonna make that turn. Not in a gazillion years.
Yeah,
was that gonna pan out for him?
Ross Chastain just coming full bore up the trash chute and just completely wiped out Chase Elliott on lap 1.
Lap 1, turn 1.
like I said, and Zilish got involved, and obviously a few other cars.
Hamlin,
but
Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs drove over Hamlin like he did Justin Haley.
Yeah, he almost flipped him. We didn't see that again until Twitter on Monday. I didn't know that had happened.
Fox broadcasts, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, there's more of that to pick apart as we go on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I was just beyond pissed off because Chase started third. And just the hypocrisy of Ross to lecture Hocevar the week before. And then...
Oh, the irony is so right. It's delicious. I love it.
And also, lap 1, Hocevar almost turned Bubba right at the start-finish line. I was like, what are y'all doing?
I couldn't tell if Bubba just didn't get fired off quick enough or if Hocevar just was a little too antsy and timed it wrong. I don't think it was him trying to bump him or anything. That looked more like a mistake and not just we're going to win the race on lap 1 like Ross Chastain did. Holy shit, dude.
Well, other contact, there was we're still waiting to hear if he's getting suspended, but Austin Cindric right hooked Ty Dillon on the front stretch.
Yeah, he did.
Which, to be fair, Ty did like knock him off the track. So
he ran him pretty wide, and Austin, after a couple weeks of being the fucking, how would I describe it? The cum towel of the series, just getting completely.
That's not how I would describe it. But,
that's why I paused. I was like, I don't know if I want to say that, but I had nothing else.
You said it.
Yeah.
But I think he was tired of that, and he immediately administered some street justice to Ty Dillon, which.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's now the debate is if he right hooked him, but it was a road course and they were low speeds, but it's still a right hook, and now we're all waiting to see if he gets suspended tomorrow. Which I hope he doesn't, but at the same time, if you want to be sticklers to the rules, which NASCAR hasn't necessarily been, I guess then he has to be suspended. But
he should absolutely get suspended for that because that's the call they decided to make. And look, like. Black and white, that's the answer. I think we all three of us can look at that and say, well, I don't know if that's really necessary. They were going kind of slow.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Kansas or something like that or Talladega. But at the same time, like NASCAR already has proven that they don't have the ability to make judgment calls that are going to be respected because they just can't do it, and they don't. So I don't think they have the bandwidth to afford it to them to make a decision like that right now without looking wildly inconsistent. So they're kind of trapped in their own little prison here when it comes to making decisions, and I think they kind of have to do it. And I'll be kind of shocked if they don't, even if it wasn't as egregious as some of the other ones that have warranted suspensions in the past.
I mean, hell, they turn right. Like, is there a right and left hook in these situations in a road course situation? Technically,
yeah. I mean, it was as close to a right hook as you'd see on a speedway or an oval.
I mean, of course, yeah.
But not going good for Austin Cindric so far this year.
Poor guy. He
shaved
announced
that mustache.
Exactly. Yeah, he's cursed.
It's his own fault.
He's running an Earnhardt throwback now at Darlington, so maybe that'll change his luck. But we'll see what happens. But no, I think we all kind of expected the SVG show. I definitely did because I put a lot of money on him compared to my normal quarter bets. But we didn't really get that. His car, I mean, he led some laps, but his car was not good on restarts, and it was better on long runs. But he just didn't. He was in the top 10 all day, and he was up front for a good portion of it. But yeah, he just didn't have it on Sunday, which was unfortunate.
His strategy didn't really play out towards the end, and he kind of burned his tires off and kind of languished in the back of the top 10. Still an impressive showing, but I think the big story of the day was RCR having speed. Well, Kyle Busch. I can't speak for us and Dylan.
Yeah, I mean Kyle
Busch
Busch was shocking as far as him being up front all day, and it was like. It was the one race I didn't want to see him win just because I didn't have any money on him, even though I still want to see him win. But yeah, he just the end of the race was just so amazing. We had a really great 4-car battle with him, Bell, Tyler Reddick, and William Byron all kind of fighting for it. And Kyle did his best. I mean, again, he led the most laps, and Bell everybody raced hard and clean. It was what you want for that type of finish. There were no cautions. There was no issues as far as officiating or anything. It was great. I mean, and especially compared to the last handful of COTA races. I mean, I definitely enjoyed the new layout. I think it helped the racing. Oh, yeah. And now we're trying to see if they're going to bring it back next year, because that's the rumor on the table. But I'm all for it. I mean, it was a good race. So
yeah, SMI has not renewed the lease to host the event, I guess, or sanction it or whatever it is.
Yeah,
not sanction it. That's NASCAR's deal. But you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I really love the short course. I know a lot of people were kind of hating on it, because it got rid of a passing zone or whatever the fuck, a place for guys to run into each other. But I didn't think that really affected the race at all. It seems like Goodyear brought a softer tire, too. I don't know if they actually did or not, but there was definitely some varying strategies and cars kind of going away. I feel like some of the aero issues that keep these guys from being able to pass were still present in the longer runs, but there was still plenty of action, and that finish would wipe any of that away, because it was about 20 laps worth of just badass racing, and, William Byron and Tyler Reddick getting into the mix too. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Christopher Bell winning back-to-back races.
Yeah, and at this point, I think he's the only driver on the circuit. I don't know if he's the only, but I mean, he completed the bingo card. He's won on every type of track, including the dirt race. So he's done it all. So
yeah, I don't think anyone has. He's never peaked this early. Usually Christopher Bell is kind of a mid-season. He'll win New Hampshire and get into the playoffs and start his run there. But we've never seen him be so dominant early in the season. And, shit, he can go into Phoenix next weekend and win there, too. I think he's probably the favorite to do so, which I don't know when the last time we had three wins in a row from the same guy.
I got to assume Jimmy Johnson at some point probably did that. I can't remember. I think
Harvick got pretty close.
Yeah, that's probably true also.
But yeah, 3 in a row this early in the season, that's definitely putting everybody on notice. And it's going to be exciting to watch, because I think we're all Christopher Bell fans, so it's cool to see the Prince of Pleats up there.
He just aside from doing well, he just, again, the back, just being allowed to race dirt again, he seems like a totally different person. Every single interview you see, and he's just has
2 microsprint races in the Chili Bowl, and all of a sudden he's king shit. So
he's great. So I'm excited to see what he can do this year. But
we can't move past the battle for the lead without shitting on Fox one more time.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they missed a goddamn pass with the camera behind the grandstand.
Yeah,
so that was great.
Again, Kyle Busch just doing everything he can and truly outdriving the shit
for his
of this
life.
car. Yeah, and keeping Christopher Bell behind on much fresher tires and a better race car, and then Kyle just showing everybody how good he is. And I'm not a Kyle Busch fan at all, but dog recognizes dog, and he's a dog. He's so good. And it was awesome to see that. And finally, Christopher Bell was able to get alongside him, and they've switched to that shot from behind the grandstands for some reason. Which
it went on forever, too. It was like, whoever fucked it up was like, yeah, it's good.
I'm pretty sure Clint Boyer audibly was frustrated. I think it went, oh, or something like that on the broadcast.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the pass for the lead. Yeah. And we didn't see it again until after the race. There was another camera angle of it, but we didn't see that until much later, so... And then what? 2 interviews after the race, and then we're out?
I think that was it.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
A couple other notes I had was Larson lost his entire right front wheel.
That was funny because they were so worried about the left rear that they completely neglected the right front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that caution for Hamlin and Austin Dillon, that kind of, I feel like, was the reason we got that great ending. I saw that Austin Dillon was being pissy on the internet towards Hamlin, but it's like, dude, do you not remember Richmond? Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
And then he got stuck in the gravel pit, and then they drug him out, and then he just drove around the track slinging gravel all over it, and they had to add extra caution laps to clean up his gravel. So
I think, too, that might have been the caution where Alex Bowman got... I think he was supposed to do one of those pass-through penalties, and the caution came out, and then NASCAR, like, made him do a pass-through in the pits or something. He was really pissed off on the radio about that. And
So there was a bad
yelling
call.
at the director. Yeah, and that was the one thing. There was also a little bit of controversy about track limits and, like, the S's and stuff, but I don't have anything to say about that. Like, I don't think anybody really cared. I think really just the drivers were confused as far as where they were actually paying attention to the track limits, because there were a couple of those penalties. But
That's all it was. Nobody wanted to try it. You know, they said where you couldn't do it, but they didn't say where you could. And that was like
it wasn't until after the first stage, I think NASCAR made a call to all the teams, like, okay, this is where we're actually paying attention to.
Yeah,
it.
Kyle Busch was the one who apparently brought it up, and that made the broadcast. And he's like, "So everyone's doing this. Can I do it?" And then he did.
one other thing I want to shout out is on that final restart, 13 to go, Chase Elliott, who had been stuck in the back all day because of someone, restarted 22nd and finished 4th. So
Yeah, great. I mean,
hell of a drive at the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
can't argue that.
Meanwhile, Ross finished 12th and pulled over when Chase got behind him.
Yeah, he did.
Didn't want to get wrecked.
Probably the smartest thing he could have
Probably
done in that
smart.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't defend anything as the Ross fan on the show, so it is what it is.
Yeah, people were kind of saying that Chase ain't gonna do shit, and then I think they forget what he did to Denny Hamlin that got him suspended. So
He was pretty fired up on the radio right after that happened.
and he wrecked Harvick before. He's not afraid to do it. So
Yeah.
Ross made a good choice.
Well, one last note though we gotta mention.
Oh, yeah.
Corey LaJoie was not in the race, which we all know, but he was at home watching, and he tweeted out during the race, "I would buy an OnlyFans subscription of Shane Van Gisbergen's footwork."
Very impressive footwork, by the way.
Something tells me he's already got some OnlyFans subscriptions going, so you can just add that on there.
Yeah.
But Shane had a great response. He just said, "NASCAR's showing it for free, brother. Save your pennies." So just perfect.
Yeah, I guess Corey was in the remote war room with the Rick Ware guys off track. So he's part of their off track team, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Got to do something. Yeah, the Chili's in Mooresville isn't hiring dishwashers right now, so you got to do something.
Yep.
So it's the off season.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we talked about IndyCar. I guess do we say anything about the winner or anything actually happened in the race? And we talked about the broadcast part of it.
Not really.
I didn't. I caught like the first handful of laps, and then I had stuff to do. So
It was pretty
I
good.
didn't see the
Typical
finish.
St. Pete deal. Alex Palou kind of benefited from some guys wrecking, but yeah, again,
And
still
didn't Will Power shit the bed like lap 1, right?
Oh yeah, there was a big wreck on the first lap, and also really cool to see Nolan Siegel out there driving for McLaren. Of course, last year he's the guy. I think he was driving for Able Motorsports last year at the Indy 500 and completely bended, even though he knew his car wasn't fast enough to make it. But he still hung it out there in qualifying, trying to make the show on bump day, and completely just destroyed the car. And then he went out there saying, I forget exactly what he said in his interview, but he earned a lot of respect from the old timers by going out there and laying it on the line. And it's cool to see him at McLaren this year, so I'll be pulling for him a little bit this year. Did not have a good day. He got in a wreck, but, hopefully he cleans it up a little bit.
One thing that happened on social media, Dale Jr. tweeted, I'll just paraphrase it because I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said something about how, like, when he would do autograph signings for these different card companies, he would, like, kind of scribble random stuff on leftover cards, and he was wondering if any cards like that of his or any other drivers had gotten out there. And while none of us are card collectors, I know enough about the hobby that like lately certain companies have been having players or drivers or whoever make like custom inscriptions on some of these autograph cards. And Landon Castle replied to this with one time I signed Epstein didn't kill himself on a card, and someone got the card in a live break on a stream somewhere. And then someone then proceeded to show the picture of the card showing that it exists.
Was it a Brian Vickers card?
No, it was his own card.
Little inside baseball for the listeners at home.
Yeah. It would be extra funny if it was a Brian Vickers card, I will say that. So yeah, well, I have seen a few of those cards, and those are always funny. I saw there's I think it's on eBay, and it's a little over my price range because I don't collect cards, but there's like a Dave Marcus autograph card where he just writes Mr. Salt on it because that was one of his sponsors, and I do want that, but I'm not paying like $75 whatever the fuck it is for it.
No, sir.
Let's see. In kind of an odd move, our favorite BJ McLeod and Live Fast Motorsports are going to have. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Catherine Legg. Okay,
Yep.
She's going to run the Cup race in their car, as obviously an unchartered car. But I mean, I don't have anything to say about it either way. Like, I'm a little confused by why it's happening, I guess.
I mean, she's got money behind her. The Eyes, Lips, Face company, ELF, I guess. I don't really know how you're supposed to say ELF. I don't know.
It's ELF.
Yeah. But it stands for Eyes, Lips, Face out there. They sponsored her at the Indy 500 last year.
Yeah. They did a cool activation out in the fan zone, too.
Yeah.
The makeup.
I think the only confusing thing about it is the choice of Phoenix. I don't really get why they would go to Phoenix to do that. Because she's a little bit more of a road racer, you know. I mean, she comes from IndyCar, IMSA, that sort of thing. She ran the Chili Bowl this year. That's for sure. But out of all the places to go, Phoenix, I don't really get that one. But
it's a flat track that's pretty forgiving, I guess. That would be my only idea as to why. Yeah, strange. But of course, there's plenty of people bringing up the whole Mike Wallace thing of comparing.
Well, that's a little
this,
different.
And it's not even close to the same. She's not suspended. Yeah, she never got suspended for racial slurs, and she's definitely driven a bit more recently than Mike has. So there's that.
Full disclosure, I'd rather put Mike Wallace in the car at Phoenix than her, but still, yeah, you can't really compare those situations because she's not suspended. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, she'll be she'll be the first female to drive in the Cup Series in 7 years, which I can't believe it's been 7 years.
Well, there's so many women in Xfinity and trucks you kind of forget.
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, one of them will eventually make it up there. It's not going to be Hailie Deegan, who finished last in her Indy Lights debut. So
one more fun fact about Catherine is she's British, but she now lives in the same town that I do. So.
Really?
That's quite the leap.
Quite the downgrade for her.
Hard times.
Yeah. We
Also
got some road courses around here.
Yeah, I guess Road Atlanta's not that far away.
No.
Yeah. Also in Phoenix, we're going to be seeing a Warped Tour paint scheme on one of the SS Greenlight cars. Very random.
It looks great, though.
Yeah,
I thought it looked great.
It is a good-looking car. And, much like any of the bands that played Warped Tour for the last 10, 15 years it was around, no idea who this driver is. Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, no clue.
Same. Never heard of this guy before in my life.
The couple jokes that I heard was that the car number should have been 17. But then also, if you want to talk about, bands actually playing Warped Tour, 47 might be more appropriate. But either way, there will be a Warped Tour car at the back of the field at Phoenix. So
Inner teenage me who almost died in parking lots back in the early 2000s at Warped Tours.
I had an experience at the Boston one in like 2004 or 5, I think, that I was wearing all black that day, and I drank a bunch of monsters and like started to go through heat exhaustion, and I couldn't talk, and I missed Bad Religion because I had to go lay down for a while.
Only reason you go to
Similar
World Tour.
experience. Where were our parents, and why didn't they teach us how to survive?
I was
in
20 at
parking
this,
lots?
20 or 21 at this point. I was old enough. Okay, I don't know what this Supercross butt
I don't either.
note. Who wrote that?
Picture I sent y'all?
I don't remember that.
So Supercross was at Daytona this weekend,
They were,
and there was
yeah.
that picture of that guy that climbed up the fence at Daytona and had
yeah,
his
that guy.
entire ass hanging out.
Yeah.
Oh, there's people standing below him.
Yeah, and there another fake redneck won the race who did it for Dale in his post-race interview, but dickhead with a mullet from Ohio. I don't like him. So you know, another Cletus. There's a Cletus in the motocross world apparently.
I'm just here to talk about the butts.
Yep.
Wait, RJ Hampshire?
No, what the hell's his name? I forget his name.
No, Ken
but,
Roczen's not a race. You talking about Plessinger?
Yeah, Plessinger.
No, he didn't win. Ken
He won
Roczen won.
he won something, and he said do it for Dale in his post-race interview. He was wearing a Dale Earnhart shirt.
So this is the first year I've ever watched Supercross, and I'll probably start talking about it on the show. Honestly, I've really been enjoying it. Yeah, I watched Daytona, and I think it's fucking crazy that they open up the front stretch as general admission, like seating or standing, like a standing room only section.
That's how all motocross races are, unless you go to like
the
a stadium.
banking is so tall. Like my friend Nikki went, and she was a couple of years ago, and she was saying how tough it was to stand on it for hours on end because you're just like feet are like pointed down, and people
you
will get
shouldn't
drunk and roll down the banking, and yeah, it's just,
Oh, wait, they're on the actual track?
Their ass out.
Oh, fuck. I thought they were on the just in the grandstands. Yeah, that's stupid.
No, they're in the grandstands, and that's open too, but that's like premium seating, I guess. But yeah, they open up the tri-oval because the course is located on the grass in the infield between the pits. Yeah, it's I can't imagine standing on that for hours.
God, yeah, no, fuck that. Are you kidding me?
But yeah, I've really been enjoying Supercross. I'm a Jason Anderson guy. He's from my hometown in New Mexico, so got to pull for El Hombre. But yeah, Ken Roczen won that one, and I like Plessinger all right.
Yeah, he's rubbed me the wrong way. He can fuck off. All right, so I mean, we talked about all of our experiences over the weekend, so I guess that that leads us to Dart for the Week. And Rob, you nominated yourself this week.
I did. I didn't see anybody on the internet, but when I walked into the NASCAR Hall of Fame, I don't know if anyone who's listening has been there. I'm sure a lot of you have, but you get your little hard card and you scan it and you have to sign in and do the whole thing. And I've never noticed this before. Maybe I've skipped through it, but it asks you if you want to be put up on the welcome screen and you take a picture. And I said, yes, absolutely. So I did the little beer call with my 10 of Zens and got up there. And I was standing there looking at Robert Huffman's car. And I look up, and sure enough, there I am up on the screen looking like an idiot at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And I just sent Ken, Bob, and Kyle and all the boys a picture of me saying, I'm out here darfing today. And see myself up on that screen. I don't think there's anything else I could be but the Darf of the Week. Just hanging it out in the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
There you go.
A couple of funny things about the Hall of Fame that I noticed. There's a wall when you walk in there. Once you get past the big Glory Road section where all those cars are parked when you first walk in. And there's some quote from Joey Logano on the wall. I couldn't tell you what it said, but it was put on the wall before he won his third championship. And Joey has gone in there and crossed two-time champion out and wrote three-time champion by hand and signed it, which I thought was kind of a neat deal.
Gross.
Yeah, hopefully they'll paint over that soon enough. And the other thing I noticed in there's like an aerodynamics, like a little exhibit or whatever that's computer generated, and it kind of shows you how the diffuser and the splitter work and all that. But I just read it as instructions on how to make the next-gen car better, because on the screen when you first walk up it says, remove the splitter, diffuser, and spoiler from the car to begin. And I was like, they already figured it out. They're just not doing it. So it's right there in the fucking Hall of Fame. But yeah, I would... I've said this before. If you haven't gone to the Hall of Fame, it's badass.
Yeah, you gotta go at least once. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's as good as like the Baseball Hall of Fame. I think that's probably top tier Hall of Fame as far as sports go.
Hall of Fame.
I mean, as
Who
far as
are you?
just what's in there. I mean, it's been years since I've gone. The NASCAR one kind of let me down a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting out of it, but I think I was expecting a little more. Again, I only went once.
It seems like they've removed some things that were in there from previous years. I noticed that some of the things I was looking for to show my father-in-law weren't there.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a little more
been-
sparse than it used to be, but still, it's a cool experience. And
It's more sparse than it was 6 years ago. That's not good.
they've taken a couple things out. You know, it's all private collections and stuff. NASCAR doesn't own that stuff, so people will
Yeah.
take it back for whatever reason
They
and not
switch
put it
things
back.
around too.
Yeah, exactly. But it's still cool, and I can't think of another Hall of Fame where you could actually get a reasonably accurate representation of what it's like to compete in the sport, because they have the iRacing simulators with the the shock seats and all that set up.
Yeah.
And of course, my father-in-law and I and my brother-in-law Tommy, we all took it for a ride, and I think it really gives people true respect for what these guys are actually doing, because it's fucking hard. So, but I did put down the
You
fourth
the-
fastest lap of the day, so good for me.
Are you faster than your family?
Oh yeah. Yeah, my brother-in-law tried to pinch me on lap 1, and I actually didn't know he was there, but he ended up in the fence. And then I got caught up in some other mess, and he got around me. He ended up winning the race, but I set the fastest lap. So,
Nice.
I mean, no one
Fourth
cares about
fastest
qualifying, but
In the
yeah,
gift shop.
number 4, the lap of was it 174.2 or something like that, which is about 18 miles an hour off the pole speed at Texas from last year. So yeah, I'm not quite getting a ride yet, but I could probably drive an ARCA.
It's probably all that Johnny bootlegger from the night before.
Yeah, I did pound one before we went too. So, but yeah, it's a great museum. Go check it out if you haven't.
Yeah. With that, I guess it's time for our weekly dive into the septic tank.
Yes.
Rob, I didn't see anything as far as non-NASCAR stuff this weekend, or, well, IndyCar, but yeah, inform us.
Yeah, there was a little bit more than I had originally let on. A lot of tracks are starting to open up. It's not quite as dead as I imagined. I didn't have much chance to watch too much, so a lot of this is highlight based. So I apologize if I'm missing some details here, but there was a decent amount of short track racing to get into this weekend. One thing I did watch pretty much in its entirety was the World of Outlaws down at Volusia. They drug them back down there for Bike Week, and David Gravel just put a whooping on everybody. Jacob Allen seems to have found some speed, at least in the early portions of the program. Come feature time, he usually would fade about 5th or 6th, something like that, but a solid run for the Shark Racing guys, but no one really had anything for David Gravel, which is not a surprise there. I don't think there's anybody else who can really bring it to him championship-wise, unless something crazy happens. Over on the Cars Tour side of things, they were just down the road from us in Charlotte at New River All-American Speedway. And speaking of talented females, or ladies, or females sounds like such a dated thing. They have talented females. Jade Avedizian picked up a win in the Pro Late Models. She actually crossed the line in second, but TJ DeClaire got DQ'd for ballast. So she got a win, which is pretty cool. Jade's pretty sporty. And I think out of the entire Toyota racing family, she definitely has probably one of the brightest futures. She's great in a midget, and she's recently made the switch over to asphalt, much to my disappointment, but she's been handling herself well there. She did pretty well at Speed Weeks as well, and now she's got a Cars Tour win under her belt, so good for her. I expect to see a lot more out of her in the coming years. Connor Hall won the late model stock race. Over on the Smart Tour side of things, at the Zach Brewer Memorial 99 at Florence, even closer to Charlotte than New River is, but couldn't convince the family to get down there, unfortunately. But Blake Barney picked up a win there as a result of Joey Coulter getting wrecked by the Baldwin brothers. So not the first time that someone's met an untimely end due to a Baldwin, but
This is not the acting family, correct?
no, it's not. It's Tommy Baldwin, but I am making an Alec Baldwin reference here if it wasn't obvious. But yeah, stoked for Blake Barney to get the win there, and sucks that Joey Coulter got kind of cleaned out by the two of them teaming up. It wasn't an intentional thing by any means, but still caused a lot of chaos, and Blake Barney was able to get the trophy. On the dirt side of things, Sonoya was hosting half of the Spring Nationals. Cody Overton picked up $10,000 in change for his win. over Ethan Dotson and Ashton Winger. And the night before in Swainsboro, Part 1, Chris Madden picked up a big win, which is I'm not a big Chris Madden fan, but I think I heard that his dad is not doing too well. He's pretty ill at this point, and he's in the hospital. So that must have felt good to, get a win for the family, and thoughts and prayers and everything to the Maddens, because I get it. Like I said, I'm not a Chris Madden fan, but you don't want to see anybody going through that. It's tough for everybody. So hopefully that gets better. Speaking of getting better, SSI picked up a new crew chief for Hudson O'Neill in the 71. Jason Dunham is his name. If you don't know who that is, he's a part owner of Category 5 chassis alongside Stormy Scott, one of my personal favorites from back home in New Mexico. He was also Jonathan Davenport's crew chief over at Lance Lander's place in 2022 in the big $2 million season. That guy could probably get it turned around. He's pretty talented. He's been in the sport a long time. He was even an official for Lucas Oil for a long time. So that can always help you out when you know the tech process. But we'll see if that turns Hudson around a little bit, because I know they've had a kind of a rough start. And SSI has been a little rough since RTJ got fired, which probably wasn't a good call in retrospect, now was it? But, oh well, whatever. There is some more short track racing coming up this weekend. The Smart Tour continues at Anderson. The World of Outlaws are going to be at Talladega on Friday night. The little short track there. They're not running the 2.5 mile track for those of you who don't know about World of Outlaws, because that would be a death wish. But I would watch it. And then they're at Magnolia on Saturday night. And of course, I think Hickory and a bunch of other places are running shows. Starting to pick back up. So like I said, the septic tank's going to get deeper and deeper as the weeks continue. I'm fucking tired, guys. I'm sorry. But yeah, you'll know where to find all your at least base level short track news right here in the septic tank, and I look forward to bringing it to you for the rest of the year. And we're going to go ahead and flush this sumbitch on down. Whoosh.
Speaking of septic tanks, I went in the men's bathroom at Atlanta Trackway since I could.
Yeah.
Gross. I can't believe y'all just pee in troughs and just get pee splatter from other men. Just, ugh.
I keep my distance
How
in
do
those
y'all live like
situations.
this?
That's what the beer's for. You just get in there and keep your eyes down and talk shit to the guy next to you and get out of there as quickly as you can.
Get his pee splatter on you and get on out of there.
Listen, when you're on your 11th Bud Light of the day, you just want to get in and out.
Yeah, it's true.
So
yeah, I've become a fan of the trough system just for the pure efficiency of it. But after spending the weekend in airports, I think the racetrack's the only place I'm okay with that existing. I can't imagine.
I mean, it's the only place I ever experienced it is a racetrack. I can't think of anywhere else.
Most football stadiums don't do that anymore. So
no.
But you guys don't have a trough, True Love?
We are troughless.
Oh,
We're on the ladies'
no lady
side.
troughs.
Where does it end? I'll have to start a petition.
Please don't.
Well, get the women's room of this.
Equal rights troughs.
All right, well,
You want them, you got them.
Well, we're already deep in the septic tank, and we're going to just stay in there because video of the week this week, we've got some sprint cars at Manzanita Speedway from 1993.
What a cool fucking video this is, by the way.
Yeah, this was just a fun watch. I mean, there's not too much crazy stuff that happens in it, but there's a few little tidbits I can point out. But so this was a short-lived World Series of sprint car racing sponsored by Slick 50. They only did this 2 years in a row. This was the first of 2 years, but they did 10 straight races at Manzanita Speedway.
Yep, it was sanctioned by World of Outlaws, and it was a way to bring sprint car racing to cable television during the off season, and they placed it right after whenever football would end. So you just flip over to TNN, and you'd have Sammy Swindell and Daniel Lasowski on your TV.
Yeah, I mean, this was, they mentioned, there's a few drivers that mentioned Daytona in a few weeks. So, yeah, this was this nice little sweet spot where nothing was going on back then. But, it was an interesting watch. This was a TNN production. They had Mike Joy and Dick Bergeron in the booth, along with Jeff Swindell, who had raced earlier in the week, but he was, I think out of the points and not in this race for the finale. But And they had a full crowd at the track. At this point, this was, like I said, the finale of the 10-race series, and Sammy Swindell had already locked up the championship. But there was a battle between Jack Haudenschild, Mark Kinzer, and Dave Blaney for second place. The broadcast starts off with an interview with the champion, Sammy Swindell, because apparently the night before they didn't get to interview him in Victory Lane. So they did this, wasn't even like a victory. They didn't talk about his win or anything, but they started off with talking about Sammy's car, saying it's big and it's black, which
it was.
Certainly a way to describe it. And then, so they were talking about how this was his last year racing sprint cars. The next year, before Steve Kinzer did, he went and tried NASCAR and ARCA and didn't really get anywhere with it. He was back in sprint cars pretty fast, but they shot this at a weird angle. Like the camera was pointing up at him and his wing of his car. It was very strange. Like you don't see that too often, the way they shot this, because I don't think Sammy's a tall guy, so I don't know.
No,
what
he's
the hell
not.
they're thinking of that.
Yeah, he's not all that tall. Yeah.
No. We get the A main and the B main here. The B main, there's not really a ton to talk about. It was dominated by Daniel Lazowski pretty much the entire thing.
The dude.
The couple notes I do have is I think there was an early spin, and they mentioned on the broadcast that at this point, because they can now, you couldn't change flat tires during cautions. Which, as someone who's still somewhat of a novice to the rules of sprint car racing, that was a educational moment for me that things were different back then. I didn't really know too many of these drivers, to be honest. There was like I said, a quick caution for a flat tire. Then right after the restart, there was another 3-car pileup where 2 guys get very pissy with each other, and the guys in the booth are wondering if they're going to fight. But as Dick Berggren said, as long as they keep their helmets on, everything will be fine.
And they did. Yeah.
Yes, and Jeff backed up that statement. Then we get a segment on the black magic of sprint car tires, hosted by Jeff Swindell. Kind of just goes over like the compounds and tire pressure and the different manufacturers' tread patterns and stuff, which, if you don't know anything about sprint cars, and again, watching this back now, you can tell this is very much like an early sprint car broadcast. Like, I know ESPN showed stuff, but I don't think TNN showed much, especially not live, apparently. So,
it was a lot of tape delays. I mean, it's tough to show sprint car events on TV.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, especially granted, NASCAR got all the broadcasts back in the 90s, but...
but even now, when you see the World of Outlaws on TV, it's tape delayed. Just because there's so much dead space in the program.
Yeah, that's very true. Which they did a good job. I mean, again, they only had the 2 races in this one, and they filled up their dead space pretty good, which we'll get into. Yep. I guess the other note from this little tire thing was even back then they said they were spending $40 to $60 grand on tires per season, which seems like a lot. Again, this race was dominated by Daniel Lazowski. There was a nice battle between Aaron Berryhill and Doug Zucco for 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, I got an Aaron Berryhill diecast sitting right behind me.
There you go. After the race, we get a little interview with Danny where he thinks there's going to be a lot of rubber on the track and it's going to be a fast race. They talk a lot about tires throughout this broadcast. Then there's a segment where they talk about putting starters in sprint cars, which, again, as a novice who only knows cars as being push-started, the fact this was ever debated was news to me.
Yeah, people have always been saying that just to move the show along.
Yeah, and they talked about how it would speed the show up a little bit, which I guess it would a little bit.
They spend a lot of time pushing those guys around.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Jeff Swindell doesn't seem to like it because he says it'll slow the cars down a bit and add weight to them, but Mike Joy and Dick Berggren, they wanted to see it. Next up, we get a recap of just who finished where in the heats. And then this is probably
a who's who of sprint car racing.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the big names from the 90s that you would think of are in this race. This next segment is the one thing I was not at all expecting and was very excited.
Yeah, my favorite part of the whole video.
there was a local bar that did thunderstool racing, and Ralph Shaheen took you to
Graham
see that.
Central Station. We have one of those in Albuquerque.
So yeah, apparently just these electric motored bar stools that they would race around a track inside this bar, and they have a bunch of the sprint car drivers do it. Jeff Swindell immediately falls off. There's a driver swap at one point, and then they show Terry McCarroll eating shit.
Yeah, you really did.
I looked up thunderstools, and I could not find much past the 90s, so I have a feeling like somebody died at some point and they had to just cut this out, because I mean, as amazing as it sounds, it's very much a liability having a bunch of drunk people drive fucking motorized bar stools around a bar.
You get
These
a quick
things
little
were fucking flying.
Yeah,
They
they're
said
fast.
top speed 30 miles per hour. So
Yeah, that's up there. I mean, that's what like a lot of go-kart tracks, like, you know, the ones you go and pay $5 to ride, and that's kind of what they do. So to do that in a fucking
not a
bar stool,
helmet in sight.
yeah,
Hey, you get a
3
quick
feet off the ground.
you get a quick Billy Boat appearance here, which was cool.
I missed
I
that.
enjoyed that. And Daniel Lasowski won,
Yes.
and he was thrilled. He came across the line with his leg up in the air. It was great. So.
From here, we go on to the feature. You've got Dave Blaney and Stevie Smith are on the front row with the Kinzers behind them, and, you know, Jack Haudenchild way back in the pack, and Sammy Swindell, who's in there, who he's like one of the few guys that qualified for the main for every single race of the series. We start off, I mean, Dave Blaney jumps and gets a good start, but they don't even finish lap one. There's 2 different wrecks on the track. Keith Kaufman gets spun, but then Danny Wood gets flipped. He almost flips out of the track, which is pretty wild. And his post-wreck interview, he was very chipper and very just like happy to be alive and wanted to say hi to his kids and stuff. So that was something. There's a quick mention of Dave Blaney and his Ford motor, which is using a Robert Yates specific head, and apparently Robert Yates is going to start selling those to other drivers in the field the next season. So that was just a nice little NASCAR injection there in the broadcast. Back to the race, though. You know, Stevie Smith, once they restart the race, he gets the lead, but he's got to fight off Steve Kinzer. When they get to lap traffic, Steve Kinzer is able to get around Dave Blaney, and on lap 11, he finally gets the lead, which he was driving the 11 car at the time. There was a caution with a wreck and Sammy Swindell's motor shitting the bed. After that, we see Stevie Smith battling Steve Kinzer for the lead, but Kinzer's able to jump out to a lead. His brother Mark is in third and is coming fast. We also hear that Steve Kinzer is having an engine miss, which Mike Joy labels as PMS, which, you know, a little off-color joke from Mike there. But yeah, I mean, Steve Kinzer had this. There wasn't really much of a battle after that. Stevie Smith second, Dave Blaney third, his brother Mark fourth, and Johnny Herrera fifth.
Yeah, Johnny Herrera, shout out. Pride of New Mexico right there.
In his Victory Lane interview, Steve mentioned he didn't really know what was going on with his motor. He thought they were having some fuel issues at other races, but he said by the last couple laps, the car was fine. He had just come back from Australia, where he won a bunch of sprint car races there. And again, in '93, he's hinting about going to run NASCAR with Sammy Swindell. He said he's kind of got something lined up for Daytona, but didn't really have all of his plans sorted out. I don't know exactly if he did anything that year.
Well, they had mentioned Dave Blaney's name too about with the NASCAR connection, because he was
did
starting
they?
to run
I
ARCA
must have
at
missed
the time
that.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Steve did anything in '93. I mean, we all know how his '95 went, but you know, didn't get anywhere. Then we get a quick interview with Stevie Smith, who just says, just plain got beat. That's pretty much all he says. I mean, he talks about his race and whatnot, but you know, he was pretty honest about losing. We get Dave Blaney, who is wearing an Aquafresh driver suit, which didn't match his Vivarin car at that point.
No, that's weird.
There is an interview after that briefly with a guy named Gary Lee Meyer, who won the Rookie of the Series. And he was presented his award by the owner of Nevada City Mountain Spring Water, which I just thought this was a funny moment. This big fat guy with this goofy hat on, like owning a water company I've never heard of in my life, like as a title sponsor.
It's all Nestle now. Who gives a shit? So.
Yeah, that's very true. And then we get Bill Jeter from Slick 50 to award the World Series trophy to Sammy Swindell, who Bill looks like he stepped off the set of Dallas, and Sammy Swindell is rocking like a early 90s like Ralph Lauren like multicolored striped polo, and has like probably the least amount of enthusiasm for any driver that I've seen win a race ever in my life.
He's never been that animated, so
doesn't seem like it.
He's always been pretty reserved.
No, they interviewed him 3 times in this thing, and each one I was like, Jesus Christ, give this man a Red Bull.
Yeah, one time they're like, "Oh, you locked up the title." He's like, "Yeah," and then he wrecks. He's like, "Yeah," and then he wins. Then he gets the actual title. He's like, "Yeah." Okay, so those are pretty much his interviews.
Slamming Sammy right there. Oops.
Yep. From there, it pretty much wraps up. We get another quick interview with Daniel Lazowski, who, again, talking about what we mentioned earlier in the show, how there weren't many live sprint car races back then. This was Danny's first time ever on live TV, and he was very excited and trying to get some extra sponsorship out of this deal. And yeah, they mentioned we hope this to be a very the first of many, and it was the first of 2 World Series that they ran.
Yeah.
And then the broadcast ends with a nice montage of race clips, edited to "Dead or Alive" by Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
So wraps up the hour.
So crank it up segment.
But yeah, this was a fun little race. Didn't really know what I was getting into, but it was good. I don't really have a ton to say about it, but what about you guys?
I mean, I love this. Again, like Manzanita was a big part of the Southwestern racing scene, and sadly, I've talked about this on the show before, but it's really dried up quite a bit in New Mexico and Arizona. But, to see Johnny Herrera and, the KC Lunicar out there, and just, this track being packed full, which is now a subdivision, much like the Atlanta Dragway is about to be. It's just a shame because, we used to have some incredible talent coming out of there and a really vibrant community of racers that's all but dried up. And, like I said, I've talked about this on the show before, so I don't really have to get into it too much. But it's a nice little snapshot of what it used to be like in the Southwest and just how vibrant that scene was. And hopefully the guys at Vado and a couple other tracks out there are able to sort of bring it back. But, yeah, definitely a cool little time capsule. And, again, this is such a titanic era of sprint car racing, like so many big dogs out there, Jack Haudenschild, Stevie Smith, who, by the way, I just bought a t-shirt of from Speedway Screens. So there you go.
Yeah, I end up with Stevie Smith's t-shirt collection at one point, so I still have a bunch of those. If you're a small, let me know. I'll give you a killer deal on one.
Hell yeah. But yeah, just there's like 48 Kinzers out there. It's as good as it ever got. There's a lot of talented guys now, but there's just something about this era of racing, particularly sprint car racing, that's just so badass. And this is a nice little document with a top quality broadcast crew. And it's always cool to see young Mike Joy and Ralph Shaheen out there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
cool.
everything Rob just said. No, Rob said it all.
Copying off me.
Copy and paste.
Well, for next week's video of the week, we're going to stay in the short track world. Nothing really totally caught my eye this week when I was digging for stuff, so I'm pulling out one that we haven't watched that I had saved. This is a Vice video from about a year ago, titled "The Dead and Dying Speedways of the South." Did you guys watch this or no?
I've seen that, yeah.
You've seen that?
Yeah.
Have you seen it, Ashley? You have?
Yeah.
Should I not watch this? Should I pick something else? Or do we want to talk about this? Because I've never seen
We
it.
can talk about it.
Talk about it, yeah.
Okay. Because I always
we'll
find it. I find it interesting when media companies outside the racing world go in and document racing stuff.
It's like Rick McCrank, right, or some shit like that. What's his name?
I don't know if he's the one who did it.
He does a lot of like abandoned kind of stuff.
Well, McCrank did a lot of the skate stuff. I don't know if he does this, but he might. Let me look here.
Let's find out. We're gonna watch it right now, folks. Surprise, bitches.
Yeah. I
Yeah, it
think
doesn't
that's
say
what
it.
he did.
Okay, well, still, I'm interested to see what it's all about. So,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it goes to Cherokee, which that's not the best first racetrack.
well, he also goes to North Wilkesboro too, as I'm looking at it now to start off with. So,
Yeah.
but still, it'll be interesting. So,
Yeah.
that's
It's
on
well done.
the
It's good.
that's on the playlist already. And yeah, so this coming weekend, NASCAR's in Phoenix. I don't know what else to say about Phoenix. I mean, we know in the fall it's a Penske track. In the spring, it's a little bit more up in the air. So I guess we'll see if Christopher Bell can pull off 3 in a row, or if somebody else will come up and grab a win. So
A little sleeper pick from Uncle Rob here. I would keep my eye on Chase Briscoe in that 9 team. I feel like this
Yeah,
is
it's fair.
This is a good place for. I mean, he's won there before. He got his first win at Phoenix with Stuart Haas, which at that time was not something you expected because that team sucked ass at the end. And now he's at a team that does not suck ass. And the Toyotas are generally pretty fast there. Again, you're right. It's a Penske track. Everyone knows that. But I keep an eye on the 19. Might be worth placing a nice little bet on him if the odds are in your favor in that regard. So.
Brian's
see,
going to up his bet to 50 cents.
50 cents.
well, I gotta pull back a little bit after last week after wasting like $17 on SVG.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, again, it's not very often that I bet that much, and again, $17 to a lot of bettors is like a penny. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I put a decent
Whatever.
amount on Ty Gibbs because his odds were super high, and at that
And then
first
Ross
lap, I
Chastain.
was immediately just stopped
okay,
looking at
so
DraftKings.
I'm looking up the odds now. Bell is the top at plus 500. Briscoe is plus 1,200 to win. So
Pretty good.
I guess that's not a bad bet. So yeah, maybe I'll throw a quarter on that and see what happens. Yeah, done. Bet on him. Okay.
Live sports betting. By the way, folks, it seems as though the World of Outlaws betting has been extended to pretty much everywhere. I haven't checked in Massachusetts yet.
I
but
thought I saw something about them. Yeah, like getting more states involved.
I was able to bet in North Carolina, and I did not do well, but because David Gravel's like minus 3,000 to win or some shit, and he just is the guy who's going to win. And they don't have top 5 or top 10 odds or top 3 or whatever. So it's a little
bet
tough.
$400 to win $500, and there you go.
Slow going, but it's there, folks. You can do it.
Yep. Well, yeah, it sounds like none of us will be at any tracks this weekend because it's still winter where we all live.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll actually get to watch the Xfinity race this weekend.
Nice.
Yeah. I might be in Rochester on Sunday, but I plan on being home to at least catch the second half of the race. So, we'll see.
Nice.
But yeah, so as always, you can follow us at Meet Me at Applebees on Instagram, Meet Me at the Bees on Twitter. I am Speedway Screens on all the things. SpeedwayTSJ.etsy.com is the shop. MMA Applebees for 15% off, but I'm going to be running a massive sale starting tomorrow, so you won't need the discount code. So just follow me and you'll see.
Buy one Stevie Smith shirt, get 3 for free.
I don't quite have that much inventory to do that. But, like I said, I'll cut you a deal.
Nice.
That's my turn. Still Snake Mountain _ True Love. I have nothing to share.
Well, you got some dragway photos.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to share those on the internet.
You
but-
can just stop. It's fine. Just post them.
Never mind.
You're not the first person. You're not the first person to trespass there. Nobody's gonna call the cops on you.
Yeah. Rob Moats _ unofficial on Instagram. Holy fucking shit. My brain's done. These Wild Plains is my band, and I'm very tired. And apologies to all my homies in North Carolina I did not get to see. Not only were the usual suspects out and about doing stuff, but there were even other folks. Josh Davis was in town. There's a few other people I didn't get to see, but it's tough to break away and do family shit. So one of these days in the near future, I got to come down and see everybody and hang out. But it was nice to breathe the same air as y'all, and I had a good time, and we'll do it again soon, hopefully. And that's all I got.
Cool. All right, well, check is here. So thank you for once again joining us at Applebee's, and we'll talk to y'all next week.